I've heard you talking about the track 5 Years from the Ziggy album and your sympathetic approach to the mood of that song, a dark kind of, sense of foreboding, and you were thinking you couldn't be flash, you had to work in the service of the song and keep it really simple.
Yeah, he just said, I want the drums to start this, and I was like, we were just about to start recording, I was like, ooh, wow, okay. And the first thing is, good, I've got room to do some flash bits, And then I thought, no, that's not really, if it's about the end of the world, you're not going to be excited, are you? You know what I mean? Yeah. So get into the mood of it's the end of the world and see what comes out.
We always had the same experience with David. We often didn't know what the song was called. We'd work out the jam, then we'd organize the jam. Suddenly a verse and a chorus, suddenly a structure was appearing, and we'd put it down, and it might be called, the
Cyclops?
Yeah, the Cyclops. Yeah, the Superman, which is on that was called the Cyclops because he described, let's have a stomping beat like a one-eyed Cyclops is stomping down the high street and going to attack the village and all that stuff. For instance, on that album, he wrote The Man Who Sold the World on the last day of the last mix. We had the backing track. We still didn't know what the song was called. He didn't know what the song was called. So he went off in the lobby and he started scribbling. And he says, I think I've got it now. And he went out and did it. And I was pulling the hair out of my head. And I had a lot more hair in those days, so it was a lot of hair. And the next day, the album had to be delivered the next day. We ran out of money. That was the last day. And still no lyrics on The Man Who Sold the World. I learned that's the way he works. And he always made it in time. It seemed that song Under Pressure was motivated his life to be under pressure. That's how he ended up finishing projects. And this went on with Heroes. The song Heroes, we didn't know it was called Heroes until 3 months after we recorded it. And then he wrote this lyric about heroes, about a drunk who thinks he is a hero. I had a very funny experience because when we recorded Heroes, Berlin was a walled city. It was West Berlin and East Berlin, clearly a very scary, sharp division. So recently, about 2 years ago, I flew into Berlin, and the airport is now in the eastern sector, and I get this driver who could barely speak English, and he puts on the radio, and you hear David's version of Hero called Helden, and there's David singing out of this cab driver's radio in German, and the guy is singing along in German, and I said, do you know, I said, I have to tell you, I produced that record, I made that record. And he goes, oh, you made Helden. I go, no, I made Heroes. He did not know it was called Heroes.
There's a fantastic story about the way in which recordings were made in that particular period, and his vocal being the last of the 24 available tracks.
Yeah.
And he kept going in, apparently, and doing another take.
Yeah.
And each take obviously destroyed the last remaining one, which is an incredible risk to take, isn't it?
Not for David Bowie, I'd say anyone else. It was incredible. He could always sing better. He could always sing a better take.
He would sing a track. I can't remember what the track was. And it was really good. And Ken said, come up and have a listen. And he went, no, keep that and I'll double it. And Ken went, what? And he said, I'll just sing it again exactly. We'll put them both together. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, but you'll hear that. He said, no, you won't. Mm-hmm. And he sang it again, and you could not hear that there was two voices. Yeah. And it just gave it a thickness, just a more powerful thing. But the phrasing and everything was like spot on. And Ken had worked with the Beatles and that, and he just went, he had a tash, he went, fuck.
David's professionalism was exceptional. He was an exceptional singer and technician as well.
Different times in the record industry as well. One day I read something, Tony, about you talked about Mark Bolan selling something like 65,000 records a day or something,
yes.
And the big artists who were big were selling incredible amounts. We're in a very different time now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We had a record, Hot Love, out after 3 years living in the UK. I went back to the United States to see my mom and dad, and I left the record at #1, and it was already #1 for 2 weeks in the charts. And I spent a couple of weeks in New York. When I came back, it was still #1. So it was #1 for 7 weeks. And the highest sale in one day was 65,000. Nowadays, albums in the top 10 don't hit the 65,000 mark, ever, and all everyday sales. But it was a really fertile period where uniqueness was valued, artistry, virtuosity was valued, clever lyrics, good lyrics, from Pete Townsend to the Beatles, so it was a great period.
You've talked about the idea that currently it's all about sure things. Geniuses shouldn't apply. Mm-hmm. The idea that people who are trying to do something different are really not welcome because that's a longer term investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
With somebody.
Yeah, you were in for the long haul. They didn't have to go, the label, didn't have to go the full 5 albums. But if you got a hit, you were in for another one, another one, in for another one, and well supported. The PR was great, the tours were great, lined up and all that. It's a real great industry that sadly has lost some value. And
you're not a fan of the digital developments, are you?
Yeah, well, all the musical platforms are extremely selfish nowadays. If you get like 35 million plays on Spotify, you'll get a check in the mail for about $75. It's pathetic.
Not able to live on.
I know. They don't serve the culture anymore. They serve themselves. The music business serves itself. I want to make very clear that that's a very big difference, because they would normally serve the artists who would bring them more revenue.
Yeah.
Of course, to reach 35 million people, there's value in that. But I'll tell you what he just reminded me of. The first time you get paid for performing music is a life changer. You realize there's a possibility I can do what I love and support a family with it eventually and have a career and make music. It's very important, and the economical model is topsy-turvy at the moment. We have to make it worth your while to play music, because, if you can't make a living making music, but you love music, then you're going to have to take another job. You're going to have to do a job that's 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and how that will affect how many hours you can practice and write and all that. You'll be drained, and as soon as you get kids, you'll have no time for making music. So music is a business as well as it's a passion. I love that I get paid for making music, because I do have a kid. I've got 4 kids, and I did this because I picked up a guitar at 11 and went to a teacher, and he started to teach me how to read music and all that.
With the Holy Holy project, I believe David Bowie was aware of this and was happy for you to go ahead with it. Is that the case?
Yeah, Tony.
Well, I'll speak to that. I told, after Woody gave me the call, I said to David, he says, I'm going to go play with Woody. We're going to go play The Man Who Sold the World. And he said, why? And he forgot the whole background to that. I said, because we never performed it. He goes, oh, that's right. He goes, you sure you want to do that? And I go, yeah, I love that album. I love playing bass. I love Woody. We're just going to do it. And about a few months later, we did our first 4 shows. And Woody's son, with a 2-camera shoot, his son Dan, shot The Width of a Circle, just one song. And I gave him the audio feed. I mixed it. It came off Pro Tools session. And I gave him the audio, and he locked it up with the film, the video, and it looked and sounded fantastic. Then I played that to David. I said, do you want to see us perform Width of a Circle? And he said, yeah. So I played it to him, and he loved it, and he got a little choked up. And at the end, he said, if only Woody and Mick and us, we stayed together, we would have been as good as that. Because we're a good band, and 50 years on, I hope we're a good band. But he was really nice, really, really complimentary about it, because he thought, initially it was a vanity thing. Why would I want to get up on the stage? But it's a great album to perform. It's got the status of a jazz album or a prog rock album. It's not just only pop music. I love pop music, but you know what I mean. It's got gravity to it. So I said, well, would you put that in writing? It would be a great... He says, no.
End of the conversation.
I'll tell you, I witnessed it, and it did happen.
Yeah.